Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, music, sports, everything really, depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter, you know me, and social media, you know me as PD Beats. And my guest is an actor. You will recognize him from what I'm calling an international sensation TV show wise, because season 4 has been released on Netflix internationally. He plays Terence in Kim's Convenience. We're with Michael Musi. Michael, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat.
I'm excited to chat too. I mean, first off, I mentioned it right off the bat. I mean, it's been crazy on your end because everyone's watching Kim's Convenience, and the reception's just probably been nuts.
It's been great. It's like hearing getting all these messages on social media from people from all over the world who are just like, the nicest messages that we've been receiving are people being like, it's a really scary time in the world right now, and your show is giving me, is providing some relief, and it's making us happy, and tuning in and just watching you guys is it's just a great thing to kind of escape the world with, and I think that's like so awesome that we can do that.
And what's really cool is your character of Terrence. You've become a real like fan favorite, but the kind of like progression of Terence throughout the show has been pretty cool, right? Starting kind of a small role, then boom, bigger role there. It's been awesome.
For sure. Especially, I mean, when I auditioned for the show, it was for one episode and I had one word. That was it. It was just one episode.
And what was that word?
It was hey. It was hey. And then for it to become what it has become is such a like a gift as an actor, because those are like the stories you hear, but you never think it could happen to you. They're always like, treat every role the same, whether you're the lead or you're the little side part, but it's really hard to, because you just think it's going to end here and that's it. But it actually this time worked out, and I love being on the show so much, so I couldn't be happier.
No, it is amazing. I find it really cool because I went on, Instagram Live with Paul, and we were we did it at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And the amount of people from all over the world who tuned in, and they were saying where they're from, it's incredible, man. Like it was insane.
It's unreal. It's truly unreal to think about that. Especially we did a fan expo thing last year where there was like 6 of us who kind of went, and there were some people that literally traveled. We had some people that were like, we traveled from Australia to come meet you guys. And we're like, what? This is insane.
Well, there were some people that even said that, I know Paul even said, like, I think that's the one. It was like the panel, right? It was like everyone but Simu. Is that the one?
Yeah, Simu and Nicole were with them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was Paul that said, wow, I was expecting maybe like 100 people in there, but apparently there was like a lot, right?
Yeah, it was like 1,000 people, and we kept turning people away. We walked in, we were just like, are you guys here for like, is this the John Travolta panel that you guys thought you were coming to? It was crazy. It was crazy.
It is nuts. Wanted to talk a little bit about, I mean, that stigma obviously is gone right now, but do you know what I mean by the stigma? Like we're from Canada, you know what I mean? We're from Montreal, you know what I mean? There was a stigma attached to like Canadian TV and film that it wasn't as good as other stuff, but it's gone. That's gone. That is thrown out the window.
Especially when it comes to comedy, I think that we have proved ourselves, especially in the last few years with shows like Letterkenny, Kim's Convenience, Schitt's Creek. I think like now we
Working Moms is also
Working Moms. Yeah, absolutely. Like there's such good content coming out of Canada right now. And thankfully, platforms like Netflix are able to showcase us, and the world is kind of being like, yeah, man, like they're really killing Baroness von Sketch. Like how good is that?
But I think it's access, man. Like I think it's accessibility. I mean, Letterkenny was on Crave TV. Everyone in Canada loved Letterkenny. They made they announced that deal with Hulu that they'd be distributed in the US. Mm-hmm. They love Letterkenny down there. Yeah. Like it is nuts. Like I have friends that are on that show. They've been on my show. It is crazy what they're dealing with. It's like overwhelming. Like they can't keep up.
It exploded. Yeah.
But Kim's Convenience is exploding right now too, and it's excited to be part of that wave, right?
It is, and it's crazy when you see kind of, we feel it, thankfully, because of social media, we can feel it, right? So, when every time a new season drops on US International, that's when it just feels like a huge wave of people discovering the show and whatnot. And then, when it's here in Canada and it's playing on CBC, we feel it, around, just walking around and seeing people who are so excited to see us. And it's crazy how many people it's reaching, and it's awesome how much people are enjoying it.
No, absolutely. We do got to talk about it. We talked about it a little bit, but your friend and, co-star like Simu Liu, that amazing, news about Shang-Chi and Marvel. Yeah. I mean, you can't probably describe like how amazing that feels like for you as a friend. It's crazy.
It is crazy, and it's one of those things that, like, when we were on set and he was, because as you can imagine, it was quite it was a long process for him to book that role. And so he was flying back and forth, and he wasn't really allowed to talk about what he was doing, but we obviously knew what was happening because he was flying to LA on a Tuesday and coming back on a Wednesday, and we're like, we understand what's happening here. It was one of those things that, like, when I met Simu in 2016, I believe, when the show started, I would say one of the first conversations I had with him, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be the first Asian superhero." Like, it was literally one of the first things he said to me. And to see that actually happen is so unreal, especially in this business that's so unpredictable and so cutthroat. And he was like, "I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it." And that's like, that just speaks volumes about him as a person and how much of a go-getter he is. He also has been acting for that long. I mean, he's been acting for 6 years or 7 years. And he just like went full force. He committed, he had a goal, he stuck to it. And now he's in Australia shooting a Marvel movie. It's wild.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and what's pretty cool is like, I've done Popternative since 2015. I think I had him on in 2017, 2018.
Right.
And like, I'll be obviously like, people are going back and checking out the episode a lot because of, the news of Marvel, right. But it was doing really well before that too. Like a lot of Kim's Convenience. So I just wanted to point that out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. On our final day of shooting season 4, it was the last day we were shooting. We all went out for drinks, and Simu was flying the next morning at like 5 a.m. to San Diego to announce that he was Shang-Chi. And we were sitting down, and obviously we were all together. It was the whole Handy crew. And so there were a few people that came up to us to say hello. And there was this one girl who was so excited to meet Simu, and she was taking a picture with him, and she was like so excited to meet Jung from Kim's Convenience. And I was just looking at her being like, "You have no idea what that picture is going to be tomorrow." You know what I mean? Like today it's Jung from Kim's Convenience, and tomorrow it's like the next day he was taking pictures with like, huge celebrities at Comic-Con. And I was like, his life has changed so dramatically overnight. And it's incredible. As his friend and as his coworker, it's just so amazing to see.
No, absolutely. Yeah. We'll get back to Kim's Convenience, but I wanted to talk because, people that follow you, you hustle, you grind in the industry as well. You work on some films, you work on some other things. Talk a little bit about some other projects that you've worked on besides Kim's Convenience, Michael.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been like, I'm from Montreal, and so I went to school in New York, and then I moved to Toronto about 10 years ago. So I've been kind of hustling as an actor for quite some time, and then I kind of made the transition to. I was always a playwright as well, so I had produced my own plays. I'd done that stuff. And
that's where you learn your craft, right?
For sure. Yeah, I've always been a theater kid. TV was, Kim's Convenience was truly like not my first gig, but it was my first real gig.
Yeah,
and so I've always considered myself a theater kid. I've done a lot of theater, and a ton of commercials. And then I started kind of going into the other side of things. So a couple of years ago, I produced my first feature film, which is a movie called The Toll, that was supposed to play this year at South by Southwest, but obviously got canceled because of coronavirus. But we have some exciting stuff, with that. I'm a writer, and so I've been working on a couple of personal projects right now. I've been working on a food show that I've been editing right now that I shot over the holidays. And besides that, I mean, I'm a host as well. So I hosted a program called More Out There, which was it was created by Toyota Canada. I got to travel all over the country and meet a bunch of people and kind of discover more about this country with my RAV4. And then, Kim's Convenience is my summer camp. Every year we get to go back. It's best. I have so much fun doing it. But I'm also at a point in my life where I have equal love for acting and producing and writing. And so I'm just finding creative ways to kind of do all of it. And so far it's been working out for me, and I hope that it continues.
Is it difficult for the other cast and the crew when Paul's shooting his scenes sometimes, like in terms of laughing? Like, I feel like that would be a challenge sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I talk about this a lot because, you know, Kim's Convenience is one of the only shows that I really can think of where there are two very distinct worlds that they have connecting factors, but they don't really collide. So when I go to work, I sometimes forget that this show is about a family that own a convenience store. To me, it's like it's a show about a car rental agency. So I only see Paul shoot his stuff when I decide to come to set just to check it out, which I've done quite a few times. But I'm just so desperate for the day that Terence gets to go shopping at the convenience store. I've had a couple of scenes with Paul where he's like come into, we had our finale, I think in season 2, was a handy graduation where Jung finally got his high school diploma, and we threw him a party, and I had some interactions with Paul there, but I don't really get to interact with Paul, which really sucks because I love him as a person.
It's
and
true.
He's insanely talented. But yeah, I mean, we all laugh all the time, and it's truly as fun as you can imagine it is to shoot the show is correct. It's the reality.
Well, you know, some people were asking him to do like the Appa voice on the IG Live, and like he said it in the, you know, the Appa voice, like, are like someone asked if like Appa was prepared for the COVID-19. He's like, yeah, like we always talk. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a convenience store, not an inconvenience store.
He's so good. He's so good.
And you know, he is so nice. Like he is. It's important to say, like one of the most like so humble.
So humble, so kind, and so just loves. I don't know what's going on with my computer here, but I'm using my sister's computer, and there's a bunch of things popping out. Do you hear that?
Yeah, but no problem. It's fine.
All right. Sorry, everybody who's watching. I don't know what's happening. He's so kind and nice, and he's the number one on our call sheet, of course. So he sets the tone for the show. Mm-hmm. And I've told this story before too, but you know, my first day on set, like. I was supposed to be there for one episode, one day. I thought this was it. And he treated me like I was the most important person on that set. I literally left there and I called my sister and I was like, I think I'm more important than I thought I was, because Paul made me feel like I was a star. And he does that with everyone that walks through those doors. Paul starts the morning. I've come to set while there's sometimes where we shoot handy stuff. It's not often that this happens, but we'll shoot handy stuff and they'll transition to store stuff and they'll shift the set. And when Paul gets to set, he literally, I'm not kidding, this is an exaggeration, he hugs every single crew member. We have over 100 people working on the show. He hugs every single one before he starts his day. Every time he's on set. That's like unheard of.
Well, he's a big fan of you, because when I said I was taping with you, he wrote like, oh my God, get the hell out. Like, I love Musi. Like, he wrote that.
No, we get along. We love each other on that set. It's really like a family, and I'm so proud to be a part of it.
It is crazy, but I just find, like you mentioned, you know, some like the food show you're working on. Like, I mean, it's a crazy time right now. It's so fluid with this COVID, but it is a little bit of like an opportunity to get content out and to consume content.
Yeah, it is. It's a good time and it's also a weird time.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people feel like they have all this time and they can pump out all this creative content and get all this stuff done. But it is a weird time in the sense that like we are all worried and we're all scared and we don't really know what's happening. And also, I don't know about most people, but I don't work well when I put the pressure on myself to get stuff done. I work well when I have like a routine, you know, and normally I have a routine and I'm able to get my work done. But right now it feels a little weird, and it feels like how do you write about things that aren't this? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't write a story now about you know, two people falling in love, and to me that feels so weird. It feels like another time, and I feel like until this settles a little bit, our content creation is going to be maybe a little affected by it. So instead of me running away from it, I'm kind of trying to embrace it and be like, this is weird and it sucks, and maybe I'll try to create stuff about this. And CBC just launched this big thing where they have $2 million that they're putting towards creators who want to create content with keeping this all in mind. And I think that's awesome, because right now this is kind of what we want to talk about. This is what we're all experiencing. We're all united in this. We're all uncertain of where things are going. And so, yeah.
No, absolutely. What was the first thing that came into your head when you found out that Kim's Convenience was getting international distribution on Netflix, Michael? Do you remember that day?
Yeah, I do. I do remember finding out that it was going to go on U.S. Netflix and a couple of other cities, because it did go to a couple of cities before it went kind of everywhere. And I think we all had the same thought, which was, will people like us? Will this be a show that resonates with people that aren't Canadian? It is a very Canadian show in the sense that we don't shy away from where we're from. There's a lot of jokes that we'll get like people write to us on Twitter and be like, what does this mean? And, there are like things that are very Canadian. And yeah, I think one of my first things was a little bit of fear that people weren't going to get it the way that we get it. But that was quickly.
Well, they obviously got it.
Really quick when we realized that people were like, what is this show? And I think the good thing about Kim's Convenience is that it's so easy to watch. It's like a warm hug, that's like, it's just a warm hug. If you feel like it's not gonna, you're not gonna be sitting there being like, I can only watch one episode a day, whatever. This is a show you can binge, and it just makes you feel good. And it's the content that I want to be watching right now.
No, 100%. Well, Michael, I'm so happy we're able to do this, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on Popternative.
Yeah, I'm excited that you asked me to be a part of this, and yeah, I love chatting with you.
No, absolutely. And shout out to Peter Dials. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, my uncle Peter Dials.
You know what's funny too is like I talked to Paul about this too, and I talked to a bunch of my other friends that are on other shows too. Is it a small world, or do we know a lot of people?
That's a good question.
Right?
Both of those things, especially in the
entertainment industry.
Yeah, I think it's easy to be like, oh, here, but I mean.
But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. I do know what you mean, and I do think the answer is both.
Yeah.
Both things.
Plug away. Obviously, people can watch Kim's Convenience on Netflix right now, season 4.
Yeah, so people can watch Kim's Convenience on Netflix. My film that I produced, The Toll, has some exciting news coming out soon where you'll be able to catch that. I can't say too much right now. I did an episode of a show called Odd Squad that should be coming out soon too. And other than that, just keep watching Kim's, because it's the best.
Where can people follow you on social media? What are the handles?
All right, listen, I'm not very good at social media, but if you want to see some really, really subpar content, Michael Musi, at Michael Musi on Twitter and Instagram. I post once every few weeks.
Amazing. Well, thank you for doing this, and we'll be going on Instagram Live in the near future as well for all the Kim Convenience fans. So they're going to look forward to that. Well, This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. And until next time, this is Michael Musi, aka Terence from Kim's Convenience, and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.